And now it's my great pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker, Dr. Dan Barry. Dan is a former NASA astronaut and a veteran of 3 space flights, 4 spacewalks, and 2 trips to the International Space Station. He retired from NASA in 2005 to start his own company, Denver Robotics, that creates robotic assistants for home and commercial use, concentrating on assistive devices for people with disabilities. In 2011, he co-founded 9 Sense, a company that sells telepresence robots. Dan has received numerous honors, including the 2000 and 2002 NASA Exceptional Service Medals, a 2001 top 10 in the World Career Spacewalk Hours, one of the 100 most notable Princeton Graduate School alumni of the 20th century, the Harvard Medical School Paul J. Corcoran Award, and 2 honorary doctoral degrees. His educational background includes a Bachelor of Science degree in Electrical Engineering from Cornell, a Master of Engineering and a Master of Arts degree also in Electrical Engineering from Princeton, and a Doctorate in Electrical Engineering and Computer Science from Princeton University, as well as a Doctorate in Medicine from the University of Miami. He has 7 patents, over 50 articles in scientific journals, and has served on 2 scientific journal editorial boards. Notably, he has also film and television experience as well, including a role as a cast member in season 12 of CBS Survivor. Please welcome Dr. Barry.
Well, thanks. It's a real honor to be here. It's my first visit to USC, and I'm thrilled at the opportunity to be here to congratulate you on your accomplishment and to get to meet the community of USC. And I've started to meet some of the faculty, and I know that this will not be my last visit. Just to get it out already, Survivor was a hoot and a half, casino. Now we've finished with that part of the speech. It's hard to come and give advice to people that are so far on the right side of the bell curve that I suspect you already know what you're going to be doing. So rather than try to give you advice, I would rather just tell your story. And if you'll indulge me, it's a personal story. I wanted to fly in space for as long as I can remember. I mean, literally, I cannot remember a time that I didn't want to fly in space. And I also wanted to build robots. And, you know, when I was in 1st grade, that was fine. In fact, most of my friends wanted to be astronauts. And we built a bunch of robots. And everybody was very encouraging. Oh, kid, yeah, you'll be walking on the moon, you'll be going to Mars. It was great. We were all going to go to Mars together. And somewhere around, I don't know, 6th grade, I started to see this drop-off, and not all my friends wanted to be astronauts anymore. Just the occasional, you know, fireman in there. And I wasn't sure it was happening, but it was okay, because it's what I wanted to do, and people were still like, go for it, kid, you'll be on Jupiter, don't worry about it. It was high school where the tide started to change. It was high school where suddenly there were only a few of my friends that wanted to be astronauts anymore. And the tone from the grown-ups, the tone from the adults changed dramatically at that point. And it was no longer, hey, go for it, kid, you're going to be on Mars someday. It was, grow up, kid. Get real. Think about a job. Dress for success. The message was, get out of the clouds. You know, if you like flying so much, you know, go be a pilot so you can get a real job with an airliner someday. Because, and this is something I heard over and over again, first of all, you're not smart enough to be an astronaut. You're not athletic enough to be an astronaut. You're not good looking enough to be an astronaut. You don't know the right people. You're just some, nobody kid from the middle of Louisiana with these big dreams, and you need to grow up and get real, because otherwise your life's going to be a big disappointment. And I learned later on, the people that were saying those things to me, they weren't saying them because they were mean people. They were saying them because their dreams never came true. And they wanted me to not be disappointed. So I went on to college, and now I didn't know anybody else who wanted to be an astronaut. Nobody. And in fact, I found that people thought it was such a silly thing to say. What are you going to be when you grow up, an astronaut? That it was a joke. And I stopped telling people. I stopped telling people that I wanted to fly. And, but at the same time, I knew inside it's what I would do with my life. And so, you go through graduate school, you kind of have this little secret in your pocket of what you're planning to do, and you tell people, yeah, I'm gonna be a doctor, and I'm gonna, go do these things. But inside, you say to yourself, but what I'm really gonna do is fly in space. So I'm 23 years old, maybe a year or two older than where you are now, and I send in the first application to NASA because at that point I had just fulfilled the minimum requirements to be an astronaut. The thing, you get the pamphlet in the mail. It says, do this, do this, do this. I'm like, I did it. I'm great. I'm ready to go. Send in the application. And then you wait 9 months, right? And you get a letter in the mail and it says, there were a lot of very qualified people and we looked at your application very carefully and we regret to inform you. So I thought, that's okay. I'm 23. It's my first application. They don't really know me too well yet. And it was the first application for all of space shuttles. So there were a lot of other people applying. I'm fine with that. And so I'm 24, and I send in the application, and I wait 9 months, and I get a letter in the mail, I regret to inform you. So that's okay, I'm going on, I'm in grad school, I'm 25, and I send in the application. And what do you think happened in that one? Rejected. I was starting to accumulate a pile of, you're at USC, so you probably never got a thin envelope, right? Well, maybe you know people that got a thin envelope, right? I was like the king of thin envelopes. So, what am I, 25, right? So I'm 26, I send in the application, what do you think? Rejected. I'm 27, send in the application, what do you think? Come on, you can help me here. What do you think? Rejected, that's right. How old was I then? 26, 27. Rejected. 28. What do you think happened in 28? No. And you know why? Because when I was 28, they didn't take applications that year. Not rejected. 29. What do you think? What do you think? Rejected. That's right. 30. What do you think? Come on. Rejected. That's right. 31. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Michigan. I've not met anybody who wants to be an astronaut for 15 years. I have to go to my department chairman and ask him for a letter of recommendation to write to NASA and tell them why I should be an astronaut. You should have seen the look in this guy's eyes. He's like, Dan, you're an assistant professor of medicine at a prestigious medical school. You have a lab, all this stuff. What do you want to, you where? Like, I want you to write me a letter to be an astronaut. Whatever. So that was when I was 31. And what do you think happened? Come on. Rejected, that's right. So this is the worst part. You got 32, and you go back to the same department chairman and you say, that letter you wrote last year? We gotta write another one. He's like, whatever. So 32, send in the application. What do you think happened? Rejected, that's right. So at 33, you gotta go back and ask the guy, and say, the last two letters, they didn't work so well. So I need you to write me another letter, and this time make it better. He's like, whatever. So he writes the letter, send in the application. I'm 33 years old, and what do you think happened? Rejected, that's right. So I'm 34 now, and I'm kind of getting along in my medical school career. And I'm starting to lose faith in this chairman's letter. But I don't really have anybody else to ask, so I go ahead and ask him again. At this point, I think he just Xeroxes it. He sends it in, and 34. What do you think happened? No, I was rejected. But I appreciate the sentiment. So now I'm 35 and I'm coming up for tenure, right? And in like a year and a half, and I go to him and I say, I need another letter. And he says, you know, you need to give this up. He says, you've tried for a bunch of years. I wrote the best letter I know how to write. I'm not writing anything better than that. And it's time for you to give up. You're too old anyway. They don't let astronauts in after 35. So why don't you just forget it, settle down, publish a couple papers, and get tenure. And you can be here forever. I'm like, okay, maybe. And I ran out of the office and I called the astronaut selection manager, whose name happened to be Dwayne Ross. Right? It's Dwayne, it's Dan Barry. I've been applying for a few years, and I hear this drawl. He goes, Dan Barry. Yeah, we know who you are. Oh, great. I said, you know, I just heard maybe I'm getting too old. And he says, well, Dan, no, you're not too old. You can keep applying. Thanks, Dwayne. 36. Sent in all the applications. What do you think happened? Rejected. That's right. 37. I'm coming up for tenure. It's my tenure year. This time, I'm kind of busy. So instead of just filling out the form like I have for the past 13 years, I just write on the front of it, see enclosed curriculum vitae, because I had to make one for tenure anyway, stapled the whole thing together and mail it in. I get a call. Whoa. 14 years, I've never gotten a phone call from these guys. They say, we want you to come down for an interview. I'm like, what, an interview? So I go down, and when I get there, for the first time in 14 years, I meet other people who share my dream. And when I got back home, I said to my wife, I don't care anymore. Well, I do care. I want to fly in space. But no matter what happens in the outcome of this thing, I'm going to go work there because I just met 100 people who have the exact same passion and the exact same drive and the exact same need to make this dream come true. So a few months later, an FBI agent comes around and knocks on the door. Actually, they knock on our neighbor's door who calls us and says, why the FBI come around and ask me? I wanted to know whether or not you have a lot of fights with your family. I got investigated. That's a good So it comes, the day is coming, right? It's in April, and they announce, the day the astronauts are going to be announced is on April 14th. And I'm going to be on vacation in the Bahamas on April 14th, so I call Dwayne again. The week before, I go, Dwayne, I'm going to be in Bahamas on April 14th, and you know, I'm going to be out of town, you're going to be able to reach me. And I also, by the way, know that if you get the call from Dwayne, you're rejected. If you get the call from the head of the selection committee, you're in, okay? So I know this, and I say to Dwayne, so what do we do? And he says, first of all, he says, oh, Dan, that's really too bad. He pauses. I say, Dwayne, come on. He says, okay, I tell you what, go find a phone somewhere in the Bahamas and call me at 11 o'clock in the morning on April 14th. I'm like, Dwayne, I don't want to call you. I said, sorry, Dan. I said, well, Dwayne, you know, I'm going to the bookstore tonight, and I can buy books on astronomy or biographies in history. What do you think I ought to buy? He says, all those subjects are interesting, Dan. Great. So the day comes, April 14th. We didn't have cell phones, right? So I'm in this little town in the Bahamas, this little beat-up shack of a phone booth with about 6,000 Bahamian quarters. And I'm feeding the quarters into this thing, and the phone rings, and the guy picks up his hello, and I can tell by the, by the voice, it's Dwayne. I'm like, Dwayne, it's Dan Barry. He goes, Dan, how's your vacation going? Come on, Dwayne. And then he said it. He said, well, Dan, there's someone here who wants to talk to you. And the guy got on the phone, and he said, we've been looking at your application. We were just kind of wondering whether or not you might still want to come down here and join us. You're going to be an astronaut. Whoa! Well, I can tell you that phone booth was seriously damaged by the scream. I got there, and on our very first day, 23 people in this class, the chief of the astronaut office looked down and said, you know what? You have accomplished what you needed to do to get in. If you work together, if you make up a team, and you support each other, every single one of you are going to fly in space. And we all did. Every single one of us flew in space, and I had the opportunity to go 3 times. And this dream came completely true for me. So when people say to you that you are not smart enough, and you are not athletic enough, and you are not good looking enough, and you don't have the right connections, which they might not say to you being here at USC. They said to me a lot. You cannot believe those people, because in fact, however you plan to change the world, if you hammer at it, if you force it, that dream will come true. It will come true. Thank you very much.